So today's expression is, si quieres al perro, acepta las pulgas.
So if you want the dog, accept the fleas, the
That's right.
ticks,
Yeah,
the ticks, not ticks, fleas.
fleas.
Okay, okay.
Pulgas is fleas. That's right. More colloquially, you could say if you love the dog, right? If you want the dog, if you love the dog, put up with the fleas.
Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. It's funny because it makes so that literally means you have to love somebody just as this person is, with its pros and its cons.
Exactly. Like
Somebody
accept
or
their
something,
flaws.
accept things as they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's acceptance.
Mm-hmm. Acceptance. Radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance, yeah, very, very
Very modern.
used term nowadays. But it's funny, Renzo. I started researching the origin
Mm-hmm.
of this expression, and I could not find any origin on this particular expression.
Yes.
On si quieres al perro, acepta las pulgas.
Yes.
What I did find was another expression which actually means completely the opposite, but is very similar, which is if you go to sleep with a dog, you will wake up with some flies. So,
Fleas.
fleas.
Fleas. But flies too, probably.
Yeah, probably
Yeah,
with
yeah.
flies too.
Flies too.
And that one, they say it comes from Latin, actually. Some theories say it comes from Seneca, the philosopher, the
Mm-hmm.
Stoic philosopher. But some people say it comes actually from Poor Richard's Almanac. There was an almanac published by Benjamin Franklin,
Ooh.
which was, it was every week, I think, from 1732 to 1758. It was a success. And it gave, like little quotes, little
Yeah,
wisdom
yeah.
quotes.
Like a
So
Reader's Digest.
yeah, so supposedly that's the first time it appears. Like if you go to bed with a dog, you will wake up with some fleas.
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 Yeah. Yeah, that's like a common wisdom, right? It's sort of like in English, there's another expression, beware the company you keep.
Exactly. Beware the company you keep. So in my imagination, when I read this article about the origin, I was like, wait a second, that's not how I learned this expression.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, guess who I thought of?
Oh, I know.
My
Yeah,
abuelita.
abuelita. That's right.
Exactly, because my abuelita used to tell me, you are already 25 and then 26 and then 27 and then 28 and you haven't married yet. You need to choose somebody. It's like, yes, abuelita, but this guy, he's like, I don't know, he
Oh,
drinks too much,
yeah,
or this
yeah.
guy, it's like, and she was like, well, si quieres el perro, acepta las pulgas. So pretty much saying, hey, if you want to be married, you have to accept somebody as it is. Like,
So according to your abuela, all men are dogs, and you have to
oh,
accept their flaws,
according
their
to my
fleas.
abuela, everybody's going to have some.
Hey, I'm not saying I disagree.
Well, no, I've been lucky to meet very good human
Oh,
beings
that's
in
good.
my
That's
life.
good. That's good.
But what I'm saying is, like, I totally imagine my abuelita reading that quote.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to bed with a dog, you will wake up with a flea,
Mm-hmm.
and transforming it to mean the opposite, just to convince me to accept anybody, as
Yeah.
long as I could be married and not solterona. Like, that would embarrass her a lot. So maybe that's the origin. Maybe
Maybe.
the real origin of that expression is my abuelita. What do you think?
It's very possible. It's very possible that your abuela specifically, and only her. No, I'm kidding. But no, this happens a lot with expressions. Colloquial idioms like this, they evolve over time. They're still evolving right now. Like language is an ever evolving thing. And so it was people like your abuela that took this much older phrase, been around for hundreds of years, about maybe even thousands, right? If we go back to Seneca and the Latin version, about beware the company you keep, right? If you lay down with dogs, you wake up with flies, and instead gave it a positive spin. Like we talked about at the beginning, this
I don't
idea
know
of
about
acceptance.
positive.
Well, it's
Depending,
okay.
there's boundaries.
It
It's
are
funny because
boundaries.
I was listening to a book from the 80s about love, and it said accept anything. And I was like,
Oof.
this would not fly in the 21st
No,
century.
that's definitely of the 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like at the 80s, it's like the expression, si quieres el perro, acepta las pulgas.
Yeah.
This is the person you choose to marry, for
Yeah.
example. Take it with all the flaws.
Yeah.
And in the 21st century, I think the other expression applies more. It's like, be careful because it might hurt you.
Well, there's a lot of, in our culture now, there's a lot more energy being spent on self-improvement, on like people bettering themselves, getting to know themselves. So maybe the flaws are a little less, they're more negotiable than they used to be.
But what do you think? You are the kind of person who, si quieres el perro, aceptas las pulgas, or you're the kind of person who would not have a perro?
Okay. Good question. Good question. I go back to what I said before about it being positive. Perhaps positive, it's not positive, but it is more optimistic than the original version. Accepting the flaws, it's like recognizing that the human condition is flawed, that people have make mistakes, they have inherent flaws, big and small, and that even if we're trying to improve ourselves, even if people are trying to be better people, it's a process. And so if you want to be with them, whether it's for, you know, as a love interest, as a friend, in business, you have to accept some of that work in progress
I
that
agree.
people
And
have.
not only that, I think these expressions, si quieres al perro, acepta las pulgas, also applies to other things than human beings. For example, to working out. If you work out hard, you're going to be in pain. But si quieres al perro, if you want to be healthy, you have to accept las pulgas. You
Yeah.
have to accept the pain that comes after every workout.
Yes. You take the bitter with the sweet. That's an English expression that is sort of expressing the same sentiment.
Yeah.
Take the bitter with the sweet.
What other example can you think of si quieres al perro, acepta las pulgas that is
Okay.
not with humans?
Don't get mad at me.
Ay.
Don't get mad at me.
Uh-huh.
Because we try not to get political. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But I asked a colleague of ours who will remain unnamed what they thought of when I presented this expression to them. Si quieres al perro, acepta las pulgas. And you know what they thought?
I
Do
don't
you
want
wanna
to say it. You
guess?
say it. You say it.
Okay. So right now we're going through a political transition in the United States. A new president was elected, Donald Trump.
I don't want the perro and I don't want the pulgas.
You don't want either?
No.
Daughter, please. Well, that's what our friend, our colleague thought of immediately. They thought of so this week in the news, it's all been about Donald Trump's appointments to his cabinet because his term hasn't started. He'll be inaugurated in January, but he's already naming all these people to his cabinet. Very controversial picks, and so that's what he thought of right away. If you want the dog, if you voted for Trump, you got to accept all the.
But you know what?
all
Going
the fleas.
back to politics, my roommate was very upset as I was with the result of the election. But I told her, you know what? It's still a democracy. So the perro is the democracy. We live in a democracy, and I'm so glad that we followed a democratic process. People voted, people elected somebody. So we have to accept las pulgas, which is for 4 years, we'll have a pulga.
That sometimes
in the
it's not
government.
going to align with your own personal views, right? Because that's democracy, right?
Exactly. So if you want democracy, you have to accept that sometimes the candidate that you did not pick will win. So si quieres al perro, acepta las pulgas.
Yeah, and you're going to get a lot of fleas.
Very itchy.
Yeah. Hey, see? You were telling me it's not very positive, but what I heard, your explanation, that's optimism. About democracy?
Yeah, I think I tried to be a cautious pessimist.
Okay, I'll take that.
But in this case, I guess I was. Yeah.
I'll take that. So that's it. That's si quieres al perro, acepta las pulgas. And I guess it's a pretty good way to look at life.
Yeah, I guess we'll be scratching ourselves for the next 4 years. So good luck with that.
Yeah, I'm already itchy.
Yeah, me too. But hey, we have a democracy. That's what matters.
Acepta las pulgas.
Acepta las pulgas. So thank you guys for accompanying us in this episode. And we'll see which expression we'll talk about next week.
That's right. And if you want to hear the expression used in Spanish, listen to our episode and you'll hear it in a real conversation.
At newsinslowspanish.com.
That's right. Bye.
Adios.